Hello everyone, I'm Fred Thompson, CTO here at Claris WMS. We've talked a lot about bringing real intelligence into the warehouse. Not as a buzzword, but as something you can actually use. So today, I want to walk you through our new AI-driven dashboards experience. Okay, so here we are in our dashboard view that you normally have inside of Claris. And quite often the challenge with dashboards really is to try and build up the data that you need on them. It's often quite difficult to make sure you get the right source data, build it in the view and the formats that you want. And effectively, that's what our AI dashboard feature allows you to do a lot easier. So I'm starting here on standard Claris dashboard view. I've created a dashboard called Operations Overview. You can have multiple of these dashboards. And at the moment, we've just got one chart on here, which is a count of pick lists. But what I want to do is I want to show you how we can build and add to this with our AI platform. So I will switch to the second tab. Now you can use the AI in the platform, or we've got it as a separate application. I'll switch to it just to make it a bit easier to kind of illustrate. But in here, what I'm going to do is I'm prompted. I want to do a new conversation, a new chat. I'm going to start to ask AI to build out this view. Now, I want to manipulate this on the operations overview dashboard. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is probably say, can you add a metric to the operations overview dashboard? And what metric do I want? What chart do I want to see? Well, let's start with something that's hopefully of use. So I'm going to start with the receipts, I think, that are broken down by their status, so I can see whether they're in progress or complete. And I want to see them as a pie chart. So I want to see a pie chart of the receipts broken down by status. Now, here you can see I'm just using really simple language. I'm not really trying to give it the source of the data. I'm saying I just want to see the receipts broken down by status. I'm giving it the format, ideally to give it an idea so it can go in a direction for pie charts. Then ultimately, I'm going to let that work its way out there. It will go off to the conversational part of AI, and you'll see it start working it out. So say I'm start looking at this dashboard. It will find the dashboard to start with, the operation overview dashboard. Again, I probably type that in as operation instead of operations, but it should find that no problem. You see it finds the dashboard details. Now it's figuring out how to actually build this report with the receipt schema, and it's fetching the REST schema for creating the report queries. And it's effectively going to start looking up the correct fields for that. You now see it's starting to get somewhere. Query works perfectly. Let me find for any receipts. Okay, and it's going to confirm to me, here's a preview of the live data. We can see it's giving me an example. We can see it's found completed, part of pending statuses. So in this case, it said, hey, this is the plan. Would you like to do that? Would you like to create a new widget placed on the dashboard? Shall I go ahead? And I can simply say yes to this, and that should hopefully go off and it'll create the widget. You'll see that continuing to do that. And then when this creates, let me check the base path. It's just having a slight challenge finding it, but you'll see it works its way through. So if it comes up with any challenge or any problems, it will basically work its way past them. And now you can see the operation overview updated. It's giving you an example of what this actual chart is going to look like as well on your dashboard, and you can see that's exactly, it says that's now been done. So if I now jump across, you'll now see that we have a new panel on the right hand side here which says receipts by status, and that's been added on by the AI automatically. You'll see it's broken down, showed it as a pie chart, which is exactly what I asked for, and it's broken that down into statuses, so you can see completed and pending. And we should also be able to filter this by the date as well, so you can see down at the bottom it says expected date of receipt is the date that it's filtering by. If we actually change this and say we're going to have a look at yesterday's data, you'll see that has given me different statuses based upon the expected data receipt based upon yesterday. So all this has been automatically calculated for you. It's driven the data from the right areas. It's also linked that in with the filters at the top. And there's even more filters as well automatically available. So you'll be able to click the filters button and say, well, actually, I want to see this for warehouse 1 or warehouse 2, for instance, and you'll see the data again changes based upon that. And all that is just working out of the box from that very first prompt that you typed in. You can also make some amendments from this as well. So if you're actually wanting to say, that chart, let's do a really simple amendment to it. So the receipts by status. Let's say I want to rename this widget to goods in by status. And we should hopefully start to see that, calculate that. It's quite a simple update. Surely updating the name now, no problem, the widget has been updated. I'll go back here, I'll reload the screen, and we should see goods in by status has been updated at the top in the title. So you can make all the manipulations to that. If you find that you don't want to do a date filter on the expected date of receipt, you'd prefer to do that filtering on creation date of the goods in, for instance, you can make that amendment as well through the AI side. So we've built a really nice, simple metric there, gives us a nice overview. So let's add some different examples as well. So I've got these copied and pasted for ease, but we'll go with, can you add a new metric of the count of the total of the outbound orders? So our sales orders that were completed on the date specified. This time we're not using it in a bar chart, we're going to use a count, so it should give us a different metric, a different tool on our dashboard. Now, hopefully this time we don't need to specify the dashboard because it already knows what dashboard we were on previously. And it should have a good idea of how to create these dashboard widgets because it's already created its first one. So to work through, it'll work out what the right query is for that dashboard again, and then it will test that out and build that in a widget. And it already knows that the widgets are already there, and you can start to put them in different positions as well. So it will pick an automatic place for them. It will pick a size for that widget and try and place that on your dashboard in a logical position. So it's checking to see how we can filter make some based upon completed update filter. And you can see, good, there's no completed update filter approach. Oh, it's moved on, it's working out. There's a different way of filtering this. And it's trying to create the widget now. It's used a code for that it's been rejected by the system, say it's too long, so it's given a shorter one. So as you can see, it's not always a first time scenario, but it works its way through building out the report, finding the data that you want. And then we say the operation overview now has 3 widgets. It's added a widget on. So let's have a look at how this widget now looks on the dashboard. We'll go back here, we'll refresh, and there we go. We've got our metric for the completed outbound, and we've got the number there too. And again, this should be filterable. So if we look at this for today or tomorrow, based on what we've got, you can see 1 for today. And we can also span this over ranges as well. It's also then worth noting, everything here in your dashboard can then be manipulated on the dashboard itself, as well as through the AI. So I can press edit in here, and I can look at this widget and say, I can't quite see the title. It says completed outbound. So we'll make that a little bit bigger so we can see that metric and drag that into a different position. And we can also make that taller or shorter as well as we go. So you can start to see that. And you can also drag positions around as well, put that into different places on the dashboard. But it's very easy to build the data points that you want out without having that expertise. So let's run some other examples here. We'll add a new metric that shows pick tasks completed per warehouse user, ideally showing this as a bar chart with the most active picker in descending order. This is quite a popular kind of dashboard request to try and see who of your operation in your warehouse is operating at speed, who is known as your best executor of the picks. This gives you a nice overview of that quite easily. So again, it's going to work this out, how to group by the users, how to filter by the pick tasks, how to sort that in the right way. This would be something you would normally have to do manually. It could be quite painful and challenging to do, but here it's going to work that out for you and then ultimately produce you the dashboard widget and place it in position. Everything looks good. Now I'll create the report query bar widget in one go and then place everything on the dashboard. The report query is created. It's now creating that bar widget. There you go. Drop that in. I placed all 4 widgets on the dashboard. All done. Again, this one, it's going to give you a preview of how that looks like, so you can start to see whether that works for you. I'm going to tell you exactly how it's filtered. And if I have a look at the preview, that's what it looks like in the screen. Hopefully, it's what it looks like when we refresh over the dashboard. Yep, it's dropped it down at the bottom based upon the size. And I can see this data here. I've got Joshua Swift. What I'm going to actually do is I will manipulate the size of this. So we'll make that a little bit smaller so that we can put that into a nice position inside the chart that we've currently got. Make that a little bit less tall. It's fantastic. And then what I'll also show you here is we'll have a look at this data set over a different period of time. So we're looking at and I can see, let's look at a range between and something like the 7th to the 14th. Press OK on that, and you'll nicely see that we've updated that data. You can see exactly who your pickers are, what the data sets you have within there. And you can then obviously, and I can see you can rename that or you can make amendments to this. And this is a nice example of how we can do different bar charts. We've got a bar chart here, we've got pie charts, and then we've got the horizontal bar chart as well as the single numbers. I'll build probably one last example where we'll just build a line chart to give you an idea of how we can do things a little bit differently. So again, I'm going to revert back to the AI. I'm going to say, I'm going to line chart the goods in received per day over the date period. This is going to be a standard, just a number of the amount of goods in received, but it'll allow us to put this over a period of time so we can start to say how much over the last week and see how the influx of goods in and received over that period. And it's going to give you a different viewpoint of the widgets that are available on the dashboard, and it will work again with the date filters at the top and the warehouse filters, as well as the account filters as well. In this scenario, it's working through and it's working out that we can't group by the created date on certain requests. So again, this is something that you might be challenged with if you were trying to work this out yourself. It wouldn't ultimately be as logical for you to try and understand how to group that data correctly. But the AI is doing the work for you. It's working out how to query the data, how to get the data out in the format that you want. And then it will try to hit our API with different requests. If first it doesn't succeed, it will make amendments to that and effectively correct that until it gets the right result and adds that to your dashboard. Transactions, it's found as a day of creation on that, so you can potentially use the transactions day of creation, perfect for the line chart. So again, it's going to work at that. Want to see whether it can create the chart based upon this. It's worked out that the receive is the goods in received category. And it says great. It says the query works fantastically. I'll now create that report query, creates the report query to retrieve the data, and then creates the widget, place that as the 5th widget on the dashboard. And it should be a preview of how this displays. And again, what I'll do is while that's loading, I'll jump across, press reload on our dashboard, and down at the bottom down here, we will now see our line charts, and you can see a different interpretation of the data again, created by the range. It's using the range at the top, so I can see between the 13th and the 14th. I can see that I've received goods in 13 on the 13th and 4 on the 14th. So again, different representation of our data. So yeah, this is all about streamlining the scenario with AI. You can build as many dashboard widgets as you want. You can build multiple dashboards up here as well for operations overview for different members of your team. And it really streamlines how to create data you want to see without having to work that out manually, just using the UI. This is about giving you the answer the moment you need it, straight from the grids you already use, no digging through reports required. Thanks for tuning in.